Though IT is in the acronym for ITSM, we've seen a shift in service management platforms and strategies to encompass multiple service providers beyond IT, really taking on enterprise service management. Right, David?
Yeah, exactly right, Liz. And that's actually in so many of the conversations that I have with our partners, our customers, that's exactly what the different teams are seeking. More unity, better collaboration across different departments. Because at the end of the day, everyone's a service provider, in their own right. So we need to make sure that end users and employees can get their jobs done.
Right. And this is exactly what we're going to focus on together. This idea of the service desk providing value to the full organization beyond IT, and how teams can really expand their investment with SolarWinds Service Desk to have one service desk for all. But before we go too deeply into this conversation, introductions are in order. I'm Liz Beavers, head geek at SolarWinds, and I'm so excited to be joined by David Russell, one of our seasoned ITSM experts and sales engineers. Thanks so much for joining me today, David.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. I'm actually really excited to be part of this session. I love having these conversations. These are some of the most enjoyable conversations I get to have with customers because we really get to think outside of the box and learn about how different organizations and different teams can utilize the platform. So it's exciting. I'm happy to be here.
I couldn't agree with you more. And if I put on my previous sales engineering hat, this was probably one of my favorite use cases to partner with other customers on. So with this in mind, there really is an opportunity for so many different departments to apply these ideas and considerations to their service desk footprint. But there are several layers that we need to really peel back about this idea of enterprise service management. So oftentimes, what are you hearing on the front lines, David?
Usually, Liz, what I'm hearing, a lot of it does stem from the other teams, the other departments. They've seen what IT's been able to do with Service Desk, and they end up reaching out saying, hey, how do we get in on that? So whether it's through different QBRs, business reviews with leadership, a lot of it does stem from the success that IT has and other departments wanting to be able to do the same.
Right. And I think that there is such a huge benefit that can be driven from a shared service management platform. But those teams, just like you said, are often inspired by what IT was able to do, especially in the means to configure their setup. So being able to fine tune things like their classification structure or create custom automation rules really help to achieve that vision of enterprise service management. But before we dive too deeply into that rabbit hole, what exactly is enterprise service management?
Yeah, and Liz, I think you kind of touched on it at the beginning. When you said IT has always been part of that ITSM acronym, that one we hear all over the place. If we simply removed IT from the equation, you still get service management. And that's essentially what that enterprise service management is saying is every different department, every team within an organization that is a service provider to your employees, everyone needs a collaborative system. Everyone needs somewhere to get their work done. And if we can help streamline, help automate some of those workflows, even if it's just moving them away from email so they have a single place to categorize and house everything together, that's really what we want to bring beyond IT.
Seems simple enough in theory, but I know in terms of some of the teams that we've worked with, in the absence of a shared service desk, some of the biggest hurdles that they're often faced with is lack of visibility, or they have those operational silos across departments. Perhaps they're seeing bottlenecks in some of those internal processes. And one of the other ones I know that we heard a lot from teams is there's frustration from their end users because they have to visit so many different systems to ask for help or look for a knowledge base article.
100%. And that's exactly where the service desk, especially a shared service desk across multiple departments, can really be a better vehicle to connect employees to the support they require, a way to kind of elevate the system as a central or trusted platform so that if I'm a user or an employee who needs to get my job done, no matter what I'm looking for, I know I can find it. I just need to go to the service desk and someone will get their hands on it and I'll be able to get my request fulfilled.
Absolutely. So, what might that look like at a very high level, David, in terms of what a service administrator or even a technician on the back end might see if they had that shared service desk in play?
Yeah, absolutely. And Liz, this is where I do want to show you in the demo just our basic dashboard. And what I have here is a dashboard just kind of highlighting, giving you a snapshot in time of what's going on in the service desk. So we can see different teams, a few metrics, how they're doing as far as resolving tickets, on average, how long are tickets open, any aging or critical issues that are going on. But right here on this page, I've got this for facilities, marketing, our human resources department. So if I'm executive leadership and I really just want to see at a high level, hey, tell me what's going on, this is exactly where the service desk can come into play. And these dashboards are a great place to start.
What a helpful snapshot of just everything that's happening across the business as a whole. But before we get to that end product, I know that there are additional layers that we need to peel back so that teams can really understand where they'll be able to configure the service desk to best align with their growing needs and pain points. So, how can teams, David, begin and where should they start to really have a service desk that can serve for all?
Yeah, absolutely, Liz. And the back end is really where all of this configuration for the platform to align between the different various organizational needs and department needs, it is going to be done in the setup. We need to make sure that we lay a solid foundation so that it really is easy for the end users that come to the portal or send in an email, and that these tickets or these requests are getting to the right team. So even though it does kind of seem basic, categories are going to be key. So to all of those out there that are thinking about expanding into other departments, really take account to what you have now. What is in place, talk to those other teams, those other departments, and find out what are they looking for out of the system as well. Because knowing what you have and knowing where you want to go will really help you drive the path or design the path to get there.
I think that's such helpful advice, David. And that really goes back to our ITIL laurels and that ITIL guiding principle of start where you are. It's so important to really take stock of what's your current classification structure. And I know often in the conversations that we had with customers, that's what we first challenged those other departments to really consider so that they could begin to define those categories, which, as we'll see in a moment, not only are your basic structure, but are going to lead to more advanced components like those custom forms and automations. So let's take a quick look at what the category structure might look like so teams can begin to build on that further in SolarWinds Service Desk.
Yeah, absolutely. And Liz, while I'm pulling this up, one of the things to mention on top of this is a lot of the departments, a lot of teams that we work with or that we've talked to use email for most everything. It's honestly more common than we in IT would like to think it should be. But this still allows with these categories to create multiple Dropbox, to continue to use the existing email that these teams and end users are used to. So as you build on this foundation and do eventually get users to the portal and help navigate to the service catalog, it is still very simple to set it up today in a way that won't disrupt the current environment while still being able to build those automations, those different routing rules on top.
Exactly. And again, when we've partnered with organizations that are looking to take their footprint beyond IT, one of the other pieces that we recommend, just as you can see here in the categories, is to begin with your categories at a broader level, and then you can get more granular with the inclusion of those subcategories. So for example, within facilities, you could then drill down a bit further, and perhaps your subcategories might include plumbing issues or lighting issues. That's really going to help enable those teams to better understand the different issues that are hitting their queue. But as we'll also see here in just a minute too, David, that's going to impact things like the ability to create custom forms for more scoped and granular intake, along with things like roles. But I won't get too ahead of myself just yet.
Yeah, no, Liz, you're exactly right, though. And that's probably the biggest thing we bring up or mention to customers. It is you can get more granular. You can drill down beyond just a category, subcategory, which we'll get to in a second. So really keeping those categories kind of high level and broad, and then breaking it down to a smaller subset of subcategories. And even beyond that, like you mentioned, for the facilities team, if I'm working a plumbing issue, someone's having a problem with some pipe somewhere, odds are I need to gather more information about what's going on. So I may want some additional custom fields, like what type of pipes do we need? Was something broke that needed to be replaced? If I'm working a ticket for the electrical department or our lighting subcategory, there's probably information I want to know about that issue or that request that we're fulfilling. Maybe what type of light bulbs did we have to replace? Were they fluorescent or were they just the bulbs you screw in? But that information will give you the ability to drill down, understand, all right, not only does this need to go to our guy or our team that handles the electrical versus the plumbing request, but also know what kind of light bulbs they need to bring to David's office, or what kind of pipes do I need to bring to the bathroom to replace this. So really keeping it high level, making it simple for an end user to find what they're looking for at a broad level, and then down the road give you that detailed information that you're going to want to be able to report on later.
Absolutely. And so the categories and those custom fields really are such a value add when these teams outside of IT begin to explore the possibilities that could come with having a shared service desk solution. So it's very clear that that's an important pillar for really being able to go beyond IT.
Yeah, and Liz, along the lines, talking about collecting different information for different departments, there's also an explicit need to configure roles for different people in different departments to assure that people only have access and visibility to the things that they need to have access to.
This is one of the most critical pieces, and I think this is often what hinders teams or makes them a little apprehensive of embracing this idea of beyond IT, is ensuring that their individual department will only see incoming tickets or requests that are directly related to them. I know in particular, this is really important for teams like human resources that are dealing with sensitive data. So what are some of your recommendations to getting started with roles and permissions, and what might this look like within SolarWinds Service Desk, David?
Yeah, and Liz, let's actually jump into the demo here to actually show you what it'll look like, because it is, well, somewhat complex, to make sure that we are only granting people the right permissions, the right restrictions. It is easy to build that in SolarWinds. In the service desk, and you can see here, I've got roles for users on our HR team. I've got roles for users that can't see access to what our HR team can see. And this was actually a conversation I had pretty recently with a customer, one of our customers who's in the senior living community space or industry. They wanted to bring on their HR team. Their HR team wanted to get away from email. They just wanted an easy way to track tickets and requests, not having to go through Outlook. But they were very hesitant to give anyone else access to any of their tickets because you never know what information or personal healthcare information you might see in these emails or these tickets. So by adding a few simple restrictions, blocking these users who we want to restrict access to HR tickets from, we can set it up so that if I log in a role that is not privy to HR information, I'm not even going to see the tickets or anything categorized under human resources. And the same can go even down to the subcategory level if you did want to get more granular. So a lot of it, taking it back to the beginning, Liz, does come from those conversations and understanding what the other teams need, want, and are okay with people having access to. And then once you have that information, you can replicate it in the roles and permissions section.
So building off those roles, which is clearly so critical for multiple service providers to be involved and really share that service desk together, we can then move into one of the most exciting components, in my opinion, of this enterprise service management vision, and that's leveraging automations. So really finding ways to fine-tune internal processes, potentially alleviating the input of manual entry and helping to further streamline those processes. David, I know that you've talked to a lot of customers about automations, and there's a lot of different capabilities that we can tap into too.
Yeah, and Liz, there's a couple ways within the service desk that we can help these teams better automate some processes, some workflows, and that is exactly like you said, with our automation rules and then also within our service catalog. So it is one of the things I hear. We want to streamline. We want things to be faster. We want to get more work done and not have to do more work at the same time. So that is exactly where these automation rules, these service catalog items and workflows can really come into play and help get things to the right people in the right time and help resolve these requests a little faster.
So knowing there's a couple of layers to automation, David, let's first take a look at what it might look like to actually build out one of those automation rules for a team like marketing, for an example.
Yeah, absolutely, Liz. And that's a great example. It can be used for anything. There's a lot of different conditions and actions that these automation rules can take, but even thinking something as simple as a keyword from an email. Your marketing team wants to make sure that they fulfill requests as quick as possible. People are sending in emails about all sorts of stuff, and then one comes through saying, hey, I need business cards. We can pick up or hone in on a keyword, business cards, and make sure that simple keyword every time gets routed to David or Liz or our team that actually creates and delivers those business cards. So even if you needed them before next week or by tomorrow, we know it's getting in the hands of the right person to get them to you as quick as possible. Tomorrow's probably a stretch for ordering business cards, but that's the idea of these automations. As long as you know what you need or what you want to look for, we can build these automations to make sure whether it's a keyword or a custom field or a category, that they're going to the right team or right individual right out of the gate.
Definitely. And I love being able to relate those rules to streamline the request intake. And again, being able to tie that back to those categories that we spoke to earlier. Now, I know you mentioned as well, there's another automation to keep in mind, and that's with the service catalog, where honestly, I think that's where we've heard most of the use cases for going beyond IT have taken place, because many times teams already have an existing intake form that might be a PDF, or they might be even following along with an email chain. So David, can you quickly take us through what it might look like on the back end to build one of those service catalog items?
Yeah, absolutely, Liz. And I do something I tell every customer, every partner I talk to, even before we were going to build it in the system. If you can take that PDF, the form you have, or the workflow, the process that you want to have in place and map it out on paper, we can typically replicate that in the service desk. So that would be the first place I would say to start, is map it out on paper. And then if you have it written down or flow charted out, you can look and see right here how easy it is to add in a step for an approval or make sure that this team says yay or nay to this request. And then if it does, or if they do approve this, how easily I can just add a task to say, all right, they said yes, we need to do X, we need to do Y, we need to do Z. And all of these can be assigned to different teams, different groups within the system. So even within a single workflow, we've seen, and this is, Liz, really where we do get all over the board and some of my favorite conversations come into play. But one of the most common ones we see, new hires. Every team, every department's going to be involved with the new hire coming on board next week or next month. So these workflows, these processes, they can send tasks to different teams. They can send tasks to IT to image a laptop and make sure that the work environment is set up. They can send tasks to our HR team to make sure that these users have the right access in payroll and all of that information. So as granular, as complex as you need these to be, or as simple as they need to be, the service catalog truly can be customized to fit any process. And it all goes back to start where you are, understand where you want to be, and then if you can map it out, we can build it in the service desk.
Certainly. And I think the service catalog as well, even from those examples that you were showing and alluding to, is where not only do we see the value of another department outside of IT embracing a shared service desk, but we also see that cross-functional collaboration coming into play in just one workflow. So you might have security, IT, marketing involved in one streamlined process. So much power to be driven in one seamless request. So, building from those automation rules, our journey is evolving into that ultimate piece, and that's that user or the employee experience. And really, another added benefit, not only for your technicians in optimizing their day to day roles, but ensuring that the users who are consuming or requesting assistance from multiple departments have a truly engaging and meaningful experience with a shared service desk. Right, David?
No, Liz, you're exactly right. And that's exactly what we want the end user portal, the self-service portal to be in the service desk. If I'm an end user who comes into work in the morning, whether the light's out above my desk or my keyboard's not working, or I need to put in a request for new business cards for a conference next week, we want you to have one centralized location where you know, all right, all I need to do is go to the portal. I'll find what I'm looking for. And if I can't, I'll put in a ticket and it's going to get to the right hands of the right people to fulfill the request.
Right. This is like our culminating point of having a shared solution for all. So, David, can you walk us through what that end user's experience would be like on the portal now that we've brought together multiple departments in one place?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Liz, as you can see here, this is our portal homepage. I do always tell everyone it is completely customizable. So, you know, it's your branding, your colors, your logo everywhere. And then you can customize different buttons, different widgets. But the idea is to give users an easy way to navigate or find what they're looking for. So if we're looking here, we've got a couple buttons that would take us to requests for human resources or requests for marketing or from our facilities department. So if we're thinking, even in that example we just looked at on the back end to kind of bring it full circle, if I'm that manager who is hiring someone new and maybe they're starting next week or next month, I can click the button here where we have HR. I'm going to see a list of all the different services or requests I could put in with our HR team. And then the same for the other departments or different categories that we have here. But right up top, there's that new hire form, the one you saw us looking at a couple screens or a couple minutes back. And if I click in here from an end user side, we don't see all the mess of the workflow and the different pieces and processes and people involved. All I see are a few fields that I need to fill out, tell you who I'm hiring, when they're starting, if they need a couple of applications or anything special. And then I simply hit request. And I hit request confidently knowing that it's going to get to the right people, it's going to get fulfilled, and then I can check its progress and keep up with the status along the way from the portal as well.
Exactly. It's such a clean experience for the employee or that front end user at the end of the day. So rather than having to go to disparate systems or check an email chain or even find said email chain, by going through the portal and having those providers unified in the service desk together, that's helping bring together a more unified and seamless experience for everyone across the organization. Well, I know we covered a lot of ground today, David. Again, this journey to embracing and achieving enterprise service management, taking your service desk beyond IT, certainly has a lot of layers or phases involved.
Yeah. And Liz, it does, and taking it back to the very beginning, like you said, start where you are, talk to the other teams, find out what they're looking for, and then use those building blocks, the different things we talked about today to really unearth different ways to streamline ticket routing, improve internal processes. But the idea is to ultimately drive a better experience for everyone involved, from the end user to the teams that actually have to fulfill the request, improve their response times, make sure that people are getting the things that they need when they need them. And that's really where employee service management kind of wraps all together.
I couldn't have said it better myself, David. So with that, thank you so much for your time. As always, I know this is a shared topic that we both enjoy talking about. And thanks so much for joining me to walk through that today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Liz, for having me. I love talking about this. And I just want to tell everyone out there, if you ever have questions or need additional help, resources, we've got teams and people here to help.
Absolutely. And if you all have any inspiring or creative use cases, as always, be sure to share that with the community on Thwag. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.